Okay, let's go to Anne. Anne in Los Angeles. Welcome, Anne.
Hi, Adya.
Hi.
I'm calling. Wow, you're so struck where I am right now, and I think I feel like I'm stuck. I feel like you made the comment about you don't keep putting your hand on the stove. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm just keep putting my hand on the stove.
Yeah. What's the pattern of thinking that's your fiery stove right now?
Everything is wrong with the world.
Ah, yeah.
And I'm beginning to think, like you were just talking with the previous caller, maybe that's just how I am. Maybe that's just who I am. I just think that. That's just
maybe it's just your mind.
Yeah.
Because let's look at this. I think let me make a statement, and you tell me if it seems to be true. Okay. One thing that you and I can know is the world is the way it is. We know that.
Right.
It is the way it is. Like, it's a warm day, or it's a rainy day, or it's a sunny day, or somebody is killing a child in Africa or in Michigan, or you know what I mean? Or something awful is happening around your around the street from you, or your neighbor is just had a heart attack and they're being taken to the hospital, or someone is giving birth to a beautiful new baby, someone is buying flowers for their girlfriend or whatever. There is what we do know is what's happening is simply what's happening. Right? I think we know that.
Right.
Now the next part, that's very simple. That in one sense I could say we can know. Okay, this is happening. Whether you want to call it ultimately an illusion or not, that doesn't matter for the moment. That would just get in the way. So we just know that. That's what's real. Now, have you noticed that what you and I, all of us, were taught is that what we think about what's happening is actually more real and more important than what is happening. So in other words, if I think that what's happening is terrible, terribleness is more real than what's actually happening. It's more true. That's what we're taught to think.
Like the emotional response to it?
That's right.
More than the actual fact of it.
Yeah, because the fact of it is, this, I know it's something that you have to really get in your guts, in the marrow of your bones. But in the reality of it, whatever's happening is simply what's happening. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's not good. It's not bad. All those are value judgments that we place on it. And then we pretend that our value judgment is what's true. But our value judgment is just a value judgment. And all of our value judgments are conditioned. One person's idea of what should be happening is not the same as another person's idea of what should be happening. Right?
Right.
So one person's idea, let's say, that, huge amounts of, some logger is cutting down huge amounts of trees. And someone could say, oh my God, that's terrible. They're cutting down this beautiful, old growth forest. And they say, that's terrible. To the logger, cutting down that old growth forest is wonderful. They get to make a paycheck and they make money and they can buy, put shelter and put food and take care of their children and send them to school. And okay, now which one of those two viewpoints are right? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And what we keep thinking, no, one of them has to be right. But really what's happening is just what's happening. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't respond to what's happening. That means you just go, okay, everything's just happening, and so I won't have any response. No. That's a very intellectual, very, very crude understanding of what I'm speaking about. When you really start to just fall out of your commentary about what's happening, what you find is that if there's a response, that you can still have a response to the world around you. In fact, you will have a response from about the world around you or to the world around you It just won't come from a dualistic idea. It'll come from somewhere else. So the thing what I ask you is, do you actually know that, life or the world or something is terrible?
Well, I don't. And I know, okay, this is where I get stuck, is because I completely know, as much as I know anything, that there is no way of knowing what's good and bad and what's right and wrong, and that things happen, and even things that appear to be terrible may be wonderful, and that things have...
It's hard to tell.
They have consequences that you can't predict, and who knows what is a good outcome.
Right.
So I absolutely have experienced that in my life over and over. So I know that. And where I get totally hooked in is because I do environmental work, and so I know too many facts about planetary degradation. And it's hard to look at that, and not just that. I mean, social and all, you name it. To list them, and you look at that, and it's hard to see so much suffering in the world and not say that's bad.
Right. I understand. I get it.
I know you do.
Yeah, I get it.
That's where I get hooked in,
and
it pulls me down.
Yeah.
To such a dark place.
Yeah. So there you go. Okay. So that's what your idea that believing that it's bad does for you. That's what it creates. That's the outcome.
Yeah.
So is that outcome contributing to the good? Like you said, you start to feel really dark and really, one goes into a very dark place internally when they feel like, oh my God, I know too much. I know how we're, the degradation of the planet, and I know, I have the I know so much, and wow, so much more is happening than most people know, and it's absolutely terrible. And, to know that, great, fine, you know that. But as soon as you start to tell yourself, oh, that's absolutely awful and terrible, and then you feel the darkness arising within your own consciousness, right? The conflict, that division. And then you see, what I always say is keep everything connected to your deepest concern, right? To your real heart's concern. What I mean by that is when you start to see that your negative interpretation of events actually brings you into a much darker, heavier, more conflicted state of consciousness. Now, is that state of consciousness what you want to perpetuate? Do you see what I'm saying?
So I'm actually taking that dark place and transforming it from an abstract idea into a reality by my experiencing it.
Yes.
Because it flows out of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's what's underneath. It's very hard to see is that, our state of consciousness, in other words, how we view things and how we feel about what we view, is very, very powerful. It will come into manifestation. It causes things to come into existence. It's very powerful.
Well, so what a weird loop. So by being concerned about this stuff and being willing to look it in the eye, I'm actually giving it another place to come into existence.
Exactly. You got it. You got it. So the reason we're looking at it this way is because I can sense in you that your concern, let's say, your inspiration for the planet comes from a place that's very heartful for you, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't just come from conflict. There's something that's very positive, very heartful, very beautiful. And when you can feel that and you notice, okay, does my commentary about things, does that serve what my real intention is? This beautiful, sacred place that I want to operate from. You see that my concern, I don't mean concern in the sense of division, but we'll just use that as a word, that my concern arises from a beautiful place. And when you see that your commentary doesn't serve your heart, it's very easy to let go of it. When you see that your commentary about how terrible this is and how it shouldn't be this way actually is totally at odds with your intention, then it drops.
Yeah, that's huge.
Do you feel what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't mean that you won't do your work as you will probably still do your work as an environmentalist. You may not, I never know, but you will probably still be inspired to do it. But it's very different, isn't it? When you're doing it from an inspired place that's not divided, not in an argument with what is, but you're actually coming from a place of inspiration, a place of beauty. You can just come from a place of beauty, from a place of inspiration.
Well, and because that's really what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
is I mean, I have been so blessed to have experienced so many, not just moments, but just I have such a sense of what is possible for us,
mm-hmm.
and the world and us in the world. And I think that's it. It just breaks my heart to see how far away we are from that in so many places. And it sometimes just feels so impossible for us to actualize that. And I don't even think that's true. And I think, it has nothing to do with any linear pace. I mean, it could happen in an instant.
It could.
And it could not.
And you and I, we don't know what's really what should happen. I mean, what should happen is going to be what does happen.
Yeah.
That we can know.
Yeah, and it's that should that makes it very sticky.
It makes it very, very sticky.
Yeah, because it seems like it's so easy to say it should be all that.
Exactly.
And maybe it shouldn't be.
Exactly. Because if it should be some way, that means it shouldn't be this way.
Yeah.
So then there's a division. And division is what creates the problem in the first place.
Right.
You see?
Right.
What the tricky thing is each person, no matter what part of the spectrum they're on, have you noticed that everybody always feels that their view is the right view?
Yeah.
Everybody feels like that. My view is the right view, you see, and I know it's the right view. Any idiot would know that it's the right view because, you see, it's my view. Right? That's how human beings tend to be hooked up. My view is the right view. But what the thing is we don't really know what the right view is. We don't really know what the right future is. We really don't know what's supposed to really happen. We really can't know. What you can know, however, is what you're inspired to do. That you can know. Act from your inspiration rather than your division. You see, and then you'll be putting something into the collective, into the unconscious, unmanifest. You'll be putting something that's whole instead of divided.